yesterday, Simon, news came through, and I want to find out just how strong 24 hours later this news is, that the Iranian-American billionaire Jahm Najafi and a consortium led by MSP Sports Capital had pinpointed Tottenham and decided, yeah, we're going to go for them, going to try and buy them in what would be a £3.1 billion deal. I know you immediately started texting, and having given you a bit of time, is there any more meat in the bones you can give us this morning on this? Spurs fans are listening.
Quote unquote, this wouldn't get them in the side door.
Wow. Okay. All right. And quote unquote coming from somebody very much in the know at the Tottenham end of things. Do you believe that?
Yeah, but I think everybody has their price. I think there's an underlying scenario with Daniel that there's more to do, lots more to do. And this is the beginning of something, not the end of it. Now, if someone wants to come in and break their shoulder off with a ridiculous offer, I mean, I think 3 billion is pretty compelling. I sort of assumed that 3 billion minus any debt was going to be the position that they might. I didn't think they'd go for 3 billion and have to pay off the debt they've got on the stadium, so they walk out with 2. I assumed that was 3 billion net, but even that doesn't seem to be particularly falling on fertile ground. I think they feel there's lots more to do now. People will say, what's that then? Retail enabling, building hotels? I don't know. I can't speak to that. That's for Tottenham to speak to it. But there is no traction in this. They can write as many words as they want, but there's no traction right now.
Thanks, but no thanks. I mean, Joe Lewis seemingly wants closer to £4.5 billion.
I can't speak to that particular scenario, and maybe he does, and that's what I'm talking about, the ridiculousness of an offer. If they can get £4.5 billion for Tottenham, with due respect, I would have thought they'd have gone for 3. I mean, $4.5 billion minus the debt is 3.3 billion. I can't imagine someone's going to pay $4.5 billion and $1 billion worth of debt, because that makes Tottenham $5.5 billion. Look, the bottom line is that football clubs are occupying a lot of people's attention now. They're occupied. What I don't understand, what I find perplexing is in all of this is why this is in the media. Why are these people indexing it? I mean, you know, a while ago we saw this starting with the fella from Spotify with Arsenal, and I think some of the revolution underneath Arsenal is the Netflix documentary, and Arteta and all that started a fire under Arsenal, which is now burning brightly inside that football stadium.
But which takeover bid is not in the media at the moment?
Well, this is my point.
They all get there.
All of these media, all of these are briefing into the media. The media aren't writing these, you know, as much as I might poke my fun at the media and put my tongue in my cheek at times, these are being briefed in by somebody. Whether these sources stand up is a different discussion, but they are being briefed in by somebody close to these alleged individuals that might want to buy this football club. But disappointingly for those that believe that Daniel Levy is a cross between Uriah Heep and Shylock, he ain't going anytime soon.
I mean, 3 of the big 6, it is said, are right in line for potential ownership change. And by that I'm meaning Liverpool, Manchester United, Tottenham. Is the order of the traditional Premier League elite at threat here?
No, not really, because
the landscape's changing.
Well, these are the traditional elite. So if you're going to believe that people are going to buy these football clubs for elite money, then you would assume that they're going to continue to fund them in an elite way, which will maintain the status quo, won't it? So with that in mind, if you're talking about the self-anointed Big 6, then with that in mind, you know, these guys are coming in. I mean, okay, we're not seeing the direct reaction from Todd Bowley and his input right now. We will. Chelsea will be there. They might take them longer than most anticipated when you spend 600 million quid.
Yeah. But
notwithstanding that, they'll be at some point. So I don't see that. What I see is a polarisation now of the top 6 in terms of if these clubs are going to be really bought for this kind of money, then like I've always said, and it becomes more difficult to justify, but it will maintain the same stance. The least amount of money you spend on a football club is the money you write the first cheque out for to own it. Now think about that. If football clubs are being bought for 3 billion quid, what does that say about the potential spending that might be coming with these football clubs? Of course, governance will restrict some of that, but if you can grow these businesses and organically build them at the same time as invest in them, then we're going to see expenditure continue to be at a level. So these big 6, these 3 that are in play, all of them, incidentally, in my belief, would be more likely to be American. I know the Qataris are being used as a stalking horse for Man United, but we're not really seeing the Qataris with formal interest. We're seeing Jim Radcliffe circling again, and people of that nature being slightly more indexed to United.
Yeah.
But notwithstanding all that, these are big football clubs in the Premier League that are in play. I think it's quite interesting. I think it adds a new dimension to football that we're now talking about big business. And fans won't like this because you want your football club back, Man United. You ain't going to get it back anytime soon when people come in and buy it for 5 or 6 billion quid. That's their football club. You're a customer. If you think you're not, sorry, tragically, you're not going to like it, but you will be.
I tell you something, Simon. Am I right in this? When you look at Newcastle United,
oh yeah,
in what was a £300 million takeover by the Saudis, that turns out to be the football deal of the century.
Prima facie, yeah, but Newcastle are not. Look, it took Newcastle got 20 years to catch up with the brands of Chelsea and Manchester City, Liverpool and Arsenal in the Premier League.
Well, they're doing well.
So they're going to spend a lot of money to do that. They got nowhere near. Right now, Newcastle are doing very well in the league, but as a commercial operation with global eyes on the prize, they ain't anywhere near the ideals behind Chelsea and Man City and Liverpool and Arsenal and Spurs and Manchester United.
Yeah.
They're not. So
right.
that's whilst you're right, 300 million quid.
What a deal
for Newcastle. But again, I maintain this view, and I don't care how many Geordies want to hock up a loogie at me. The bottom line is
1 to 1.
Spit. Yeah.
If you want to hock up a loogie at me, you can.
You are a big club in Newcastle. You're not a big club on the world. You will be.
Come on.
No, they will be.
Come on.
No. They're a big club in Newcastle, but they will be a big club on the global stage now.
And is that reflected in the value?
Well, yeah, of course it is. Because
Right.
Mike Ashley's nobody's fault. Mike Ashley didn't suddenly think, I feel particularly benevolent this week. Let's sell the club for 300 million quid to one of the richest people in the world. I know what, because I'm a mug. I don't make money everywhere else in the world. He sold the club for the value that they could get for it. There wasn't a queue of people wanting to pay more than 300 million.
Yeah.
Now, what they do with it will turn it into a powerhouse, but it will also cost them a lot of money.
Yeah. While you're in full flow on this subject matter, Adam Leatherbarrow, very good name, Adam.
Oh, yeah.
But he's taken us in another direction, but it's too good to pass up, and this is the time to do it. Jim, please, ask Simon right here and now, what is a better club to buy? West Ham United or Tottenham? West Ham valued at 800 million. Spurs valued at, as you say, Joe Lewis wants 4.5 billion. Would love to hear the comparison regards the opportunity between the two.
Well, that's a difficult comparison because Tottenham, in my view, are a bigger club than West Ham. And I think they're a bigger club on the world stage. West Ham are one of those clubs that has a lot of relationship with fans. It attributes the success of the 1966 World Cup to its players. And there's always this West Ham way. And then you get managers like Sam Allardyce say, what's the West Ham way? They will never win anything and get relegated. That was a sort of facetious comment that Sam made.
You get more buck for your
if you do.
If you went for West Ham, surely as a buyer, it's a more attractive deal.
Depends what you think you're buying and what the reasons you're buying it for. Todd Boehly is buying Chelsea because there is a global footprint that Chelsea presents as an opportunity. And I think Tottenham falls slightly in a lesser camp than that, but they're still there.
Yeah.
West Ham don't rank in that space. They're a great football club.
Sorry,
Lee Clayton, but they don't.
Big London clubs.
Tottenham are a bigger football club than West Ham. Chelsea are now a bigger football. They weren't, but they are now. Now, somebody coming in and spending 800 million or £1 billion to buy West Ham and being prepared to spend another £1.5 billion on it, they'll change the argument. But, I know they did well last year. I know they got into Europe and moments in time. I want to go back to another conversation that we had earlier on about this Man City players. There's a power dynamic going on with that. Those players talking about how well Arsenal have done, that's a power dynamic. That's people in authority, people that you create a culture when you're having a conversation, which is basically with nice language, but guess who's in control? That's what the Man City players are doing to Arsenal.
That's what they're saying to me last night.
That's what the Man City players are doing to Arsenal. They're saying, well done, nice. Now, if that result had gone the other way and Arsenal beat them, Man City wouldn't be going out and saying that's a really good side with young players that are doing really, really well. They'd have something else to say. It's done from a position of power. That's a power dynamic. It's basically saying, in your heads, remember your place.
Yeah,
you're an up-and-comer, but we're here. We're there. This is the real deal, and we'll give you a little bit of a condescend. It might be a little bit, but it might not be as mean-spirited as that, but it ain't far away from that.
Just before we leave Tottenham, just heading to the break, Simon, just as you were tailing off there on Takeover Talk and Money Talk, just hearing from Tottenham, following a routine post-operation check in Italy yesterday, Antonio Conte will remain at his family home to recover from his recent surgery. Health is the most important consideration here. Everyone at the club wishes him well. So Christian Stellini will assume first-team duties.
Well, without being mean-spirited, and I hope the fellas are right, judging by the performance they put out last week and the performance they put out the previous week, there might be a section of Tottenham fans saying Conte can have a little bit of a longer rest.
Well, yeah, absolutely. We send our very best, of course, to Antonio Conte, as he obviously continues to recuperate from that recent surgery, but recuperating at home, away from the training ground and away from the playing field.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.